Yes, this is definitely going to be a Source Material Comics podcast. We are pulling together my good pals, Evan Bevins, Chris Armstrong. Evan, are you ready to talk some new Fantastic Four tonight?
Jesse, I am never not ready to talk new Fantastic Four.
Good. And Chris Armstrong, what do you think, man? You ready to talk some new Fantastic Four?
I would love to discuss the world's goofiest comic magazine, Fantastic Four.
It's a great tagline right there on the front of the issue. Yeah.
Changes each issue, you know.
It does. So, Evan, this was kind of like one of the ones you had suggested. Kind of give our listeners an idea why you wanted to talk about these three issues. This is 347, 348, and 349 of Fantastic Four. Why did you want to talk about those?
Like I said, I always want to talk about it. This is one of my favorite, just offbeat, weird comic stories. I've always liked alternate versions of characters and teams. And I mean, nowadays, everybody's been a member of every team. Like, name a Marvel team, Wolverine's not on. Not just the X teams, any of them. And, except for a few changes here and there. In fact, we were coming out of the era where Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman left for a while and went over to the Avengers, and Ms. Marvel, not Carol Danvers, not Kamala Khan, and Crystal joined the FF. But other than that, and a few hiccups here and there, it was the core four. Then this issue, I remember my mom picked it up at the hospital gift shop. Nobody was sick. She worked at the hospital. And brought it home, and I had read and collected Fantastic Four off and on, and it was just like, hey, here's this comic, and I opened it, and I had no idea what I was in store for. Why I pestered you to do it now, Marvel, in apparently a bid to get more money from grumpy old comic fans like me who liked things better in yesteryear, is producing a bunch of in-continuity flashback limited series, including the new Fantastic Four written by Peter David. So you put new Fantastic Four and Peter David on there, and I can just fire up the Futurama "Take My Money" gif and go to town.
Right.
I'm pretty sure my first Fantastic Four issue was number 350. I did have 348 and 349 within a couple years because I knew later that they did the new Fantastic Four story. I was a big Ghost Rider fan. Obviously, I loved Wolverine and Spider-Man. So I think I picked up back issues of 48 and 49. I never had 347. But yeah, I specifically remember reading 349 in like an Italian Village pizza restaurant that had just opened near my house. My mom was like, "Why's that guy got a skull on his shirt?" when she saw the cover. Like a worried mom. Like, what are you reading?
I don't mean to criticize your story, but you paused at the wrong. You're like, I remember reading this in an Italian Village, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds like in a pizza restaurant.
I should have stopped there.
Yeah, sorry. I thought we were going to go in a whole nother. I'm like, wow, was it in Italian? Tell me about this trip, Chris.
The mysterious traveling years of Chris Armstrong traveling the world as a teenager.
I read Nth Man number 3 in Croatia.
It's crazy. Well, these are four of the hottest characters in the 90s right now. The Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider are coming together in a Fantastic Four comic and becoming the new Fantastic Four.
I'm wondering if either of you have any background info on like how they picked the new Fantastic Four. I mean, I'm sure it was just like, these are the most popular guys.
I should have looked it up. I've read it off and on over the years. I think that it was supposed to be, I mean, obviously with the taglines like World's Goofiest Comic Magazine and some of the other stuff, I think it was supposed to be like a parody on events and like some of kind of the overexposed characters. I mean, 'cause with the exception of the Hulk, I was reading Hulk then, but I mean, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, and Wolverine were everywhere.
Yeah.
In the 90s, and I think it was supposed to be kind of like a parody or sort of a tweak on that, and it wound up enduring. I mean, like I said, Marvel's putting out a new Fantastic Four limited series as we speak, and this version of the team has popped up over and over. I think I remember reading that it struck a chord that people really didn't. It was just supposed to be kind of a goofy one-off thing, and it's still they keep coming up over and over.
Yeah, for just 3 issues. These 3 issues are in the 300s of this comic, and it's since then, it's been renumbered and whatever. But It's a small, tiny little microcosm of this huge title, and it's had that much of a lasting impact. 347 and through 349 of Fantastic Four. Our first issue, cover dated December of 1990. It was on sale October 23rd of 1990. It was written by Walter Simonson. These are a lot of this creative team I've heard of. Walter Simonson, a writer, penciled by Art Adams, and then inked by Art Thibert. So all three of those guys have quite a legacy, especially in 80s, 90s Marvel at this point. Mm-hmm. Lettered by Bill Oakley and colored by Stephen J. Buccoletto. That's what I want to go with. Or, yeah, Buccoletto. That sounds great to me. All right, so our first story here is called Big Trouble. Big Trouble on Little Earth. In our first issue, the Fantastic Four are attacked and rendered unconscious by a Skrull named Delilah. Delilah was being chased by a team of Skrulls from her homeworld, but landed on Monster Isle in the Bermuda Triangle. When the squad is attacked by the large monsters, they turn the tables by enslaving the monsters and sending them to find Delilah. However, this does not please the ruler of Monster Isle, the Mole Man. Now we switch to Spider-Man, who is heading towards Four Freedoms Plaza with a nagging spider sense tingle and ends up running into the Hulk and Wolverine, who are there as well, saying they had been summoned there by a voice in their heads. As they're about to enter the building, Ghost Rider appears and rides up the side of the tower towards the top. All four are finally greeted by Sue Richards, who says she awoke to find the rest of the Fantastic Four dead. She explains the monsters coming and attacking the United States and other parts. I think they're all going towards the United States, I'm pretty sure.
It's the major population centers around the world, I think.
Right. They're being driven by the same person that did the killing, and she gives these four some technology, some good old Fantastic Four technology, and we'll just put that in quotes to find out who it is. Wanting to avenge their fallen friends, Hulk, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, and Spider-Man look to find out who did this, and their first stop will be confronting one of the many monsters attacking the United States to determine who is behind this heinous attack. So there we go. That is our first issue 347 synopsis. So I'm going to start with you, Evan. I mean, what do you think of this issue? What are your thoughts?
Just, this was, super nostalgia for me, but I remember what I enjoyed about it. I mean, even before you get the four guest stars at the end, it drops you right in. I hadn't read the few issues before this, and even when it was coming out. But, I mean, I didn't feel lost at all. I mean, I know Johnny's having inappropriate thoughts about Nebula before she got her Guardians of the Galaxy look, and there's all this, Fantastic Four soap opera going on because Johnny married Ben's longtime girlfriend, who, spoiler alert, turns out to be a Skrull in 2 years. And Ben's not the Thing, but his girlfriend is, and you got the callback to Sue Richards and Namor as Delilah's, and they're kind of getting everybody to let their guard down and taking them out one by one. She totally forgets about Franklin though. But and I'll just say right now, anything I go, well, that didn't make sense or whatever is quickly brushed aside because I adore this story. It's a great comic. I don't know what you guys thought about it, but I knew exactly where I was in the story. I couldn't tell you what happened in issue 346, but I knew where everybody was, and I knew everything I needed to know to make this work. And then you got Art Adams. He's probably my favorite artist. And I had forgotten about this, but man, nobody draws Skrulls like Art Adams. Tony, I mean, right. he gives everybody a strong chin. So Skrulls have distinctive chins anyway. And then giant monsters. It's like, what do you want Art Adams to draw? The Hulk and giant monsters. Okay, here you go.
He also makes like all the Skrulls have like a distinct look instead of just all looking the same, random alien,
Yeah,
right.
I mean the body types, the facial expressions. Yeah, he when they bring Secret Invasion back for the 8th time for the Disney Plus series, they at least need to get Art Adams to do the covers. I think it's most what he does nowadays, but
yeah, Art Adams is a fantastic artist, and to have Art Thibert kind of ink over him, I think sets it off too. I was just kind of scrolling through here or looking through this issue. Godzilla makes an appearance on Franklin's shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a little. He's wearing a shirt that has Godzilla on the front of it, but nice
I didn't even notice that. I was wondering if you were referring to the in continuity Marvel Godzilla that is not legally allowed to be called Godzilla anymore.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing I could think of as to why they put that in there. They were like, "Oh, we could sneak Godzilla in on this monster comic real quick." And there he is. I had to do some research on. I called her Miss Thing. That isn't her name, right?
No, that's actually a later character.
Okay.
She was going by Ms. Marvel at this point, although a lot of times she's referred to now as She Thing. I had been reading Fantastic Four off and on a couple years, but she was already thinged up. And but her name's Sharon Ventura. I think she was a supporting character in Thing's solo series a few years before this. I want to say she maybe got powers from the Power Broker, but she was involved in like unlimited class wrestling. That was kind of a subplot in the Thing. And I remember I have an issue of the Thing where he takes on Marvel's. Well, actually, he doesn't take on Marvel's Not Godzilla, which is the whole point of the issue. But like Sharon Ventura is a stunt woman on a movie, and they were dating when he was all Rocky and she was a human. Mm-hmm. And then somehow she got Thing powers, and they were both things at the same time when he looked like a pineapple. And then he lost his powers and was human for a long time, and she was the muscle on the Fantastic Four.
Okay. There's enough in this comic to make it like they had to get Mole Man in here. And they had to get Monster Isle in here. Granted, you could almost do this story without that even happening, sort of. Mm-hmm. But it's great that they included it because
it almost seems like either Art Adams was like, "Hey, I want to draw Mole Man."
Right.
Or Simonson was like, "Hey, I want you to draw Mole Man, so I'm going to write him in here."
Right. Somebody wanted that character to be a part of this, but it could just be a thing where we want to draw giant monsters. Well, where the giant monsters come from. Yeah. Oh crap, Mole Man. Okay, well we'll figure out something for Mole Man to do too.
I've heard people complain, spoiler alerts, about Shang-Chi. Like, why is there a kaiju battle at the end? Why would you not want giant monsters? I mean,
exactly.
Like, hey, we're going to replace the Fantastic Four with the four most popular Marvel characters of this era. What else do we need? Giant monsters. Sold.
Done. All right, Chris, what'd you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, echoing kind of what Evan was saying, like it's a perfect like jumping in, like it gives you what you need to know about all the characters like really quickly. There's a lot of stuff going on in those first like 7 or 8 pages.
Oh yeah.
And I like how like there's like 4 consecutive pages that are just Delilah, seducing and then incapacitating each of the characters.
Everybody, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that now if there were like 4 one-shots showing like how she did that with each character.
Oh my gosh, you're right. There would be a flashback to Sue flirting with Namor. Oh man, yeah.
I did like when they mentioned Monster Isle, like that immediately made me think of the Simpsons episode when Lisa had a dream sequence and she was sentenced to Monster Island.
I now pronounce you President of these United...
Stop the inauguration. I just discovered our President-elect got it up in 2nd grade gym class.
In that case, I sentence you to a lifetime of horror on Monster Island. Don't worry, it's just a name.
He said it was just a name.
What he meant is that Monster Island is actually a peninsula.
I think this was the first time I'd ever read anything with Grey Hulk in it.
Oh wow, no kidding.
And I like the Grey Hulk version. I wouldn't want him to always be this version, but it's cool to see, to read stuff throughout Marvel history and see when the Grey Hulk pops up. Because that's an interesting version of the Hulk.
Grey Hulk and Wolverine coexisting in the same space.
Yeah,
is really neat to see because there's a great cover to a Wolverine. I wish I could remember what number it is. It's like Wolverine number 4, maybe number 6, could be number 8. I can't remember. Anyway,
7 and 8 was when Hulk showed up in Wolverine's solo.
Okay, perfect. I knew it was in the single digits because they're both dressed in tuxes.
That's number 8.
I love that cover. But yeah, just seeing these two guys together, they don't have a great history already. And Mr. Fix-It is like, granted, he's and I don't think he's called Mr. Fix-It here, but back then, that's kind of how I knew him. Gray Hulk he's obviously intelligent, but he's like this real grumpy, smart ass Hulk is what he is. He's got this attitude about him, and you can see that in these issues, which I think I like that. They hold true to that, which is good. But I've read quite a bit with the Gray Hulk, and at least back in the day.
This would have been the very tail end of the Mr. Fix-It era, because I know like less than a year later when Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh yeah, he's an Infinity Gauntlet.
Green Hulk, so
yeah, he's like the intelligent Green Hulk in that.
At that point, that was supposed to be the combined version with Banner's brains, the Green Hulk strength, and the Gray Hulk's attitude. And then a few years later, they revealed that that was just another alter ego. It was supposed to be that Doc Samson had combined them all, and Samson's like, no, you were just losing control, so I brought out another personality to calm everything down.
Wasn't there a name for that personality?
That was the Professor. Professor Hulk, something like that, yeah.
Okay. All right, Chris, long tangent there. I'm sorry. Go ahead and continue.
Oh, you're good. There's a lot of little comedic moments in this. And one of my favorites is when they all, like, Ghost Rider zooms up the side of the building on his motorcycle, right. And the Hulk jumps up, and then Spider-Man swings away, and Wolverine's like show-offs, and then he has to take the elevator up.
He takes the elevator.
Yeah. The subphotonic spectroanalyzer is just a classic FF nonsense science device.
Is it ever? Is it ever? I want to say something about Delilah. I was having a hard time figuring out like what was going on with her character. First off, I thought she is a Skrull, right?
Yeah.
They aren't normally telepathic in any way, right?
No, but there are mutant Skrulls.
Okay. All right, then. Is that what we have here? That never comes out.
or something like that. I mean, you'd think if she was, this being the late 80s, early 90s, they would have plastered that all over the place. They used to advertise Spider-Man by referring to him as the non-mutant superhero, just to get the word mutant on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
They don't explain in this why she's a telepath, but...
Okay. I'm stepping back here. Chris, what else did you have?
That's pretty much it. I thought this was going to be a unspoken issues.
Oh, so were you picking panels? I don't care. Let's do it.
I'll just point out a panel that I really like. I mean,
me too.
You could pick so many from these issues because of Art Adams is incredible.
Adams. Yeah, dude.
But I think it's page 14, the last panel with the Skrull looking down at his readings, and like the light is shining on his face, and he's got this crazed look in his eyes.
Yes.
I love that panel.
That's good stuff, man. How about you, Evan? You got one?
Let's see. So page 29, if you count the ads, right after Natsu shows them the bodies, the reactions, especially the Hulk's face, just because I mean the Hulk's like, yeah, I'm not fooling with you guys. I got my own stuff to do. And then I mean Adam's art, the Hulk is visibly shaken at the idea that the Fantastic Four are dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean that's just a great reaction shot there.
There are some great facial expressions from the Hulk in these issues.
I want to go back and read more of this guy. Was he doing Fantastic Four for a while, or did he just show up for this? Or do you guys know?
I think just these. You won't find much.
Wow.
Which, Evan, we discussed that on the issue we did on Monkey Man and O'Brien, right?
Yeah.
He didn't do a lot of interiors.
Covers and stuff like that.
Huh.
I know he did some X-Men. He did the Long Shot limited series, right?
The original Long Shot.
Yeah.
Series.
And he's I've got an X-Men poster that he did with all the X-Men up to that point and X Factor. That's just awesome.
Well, you guys left me the easiest pickings of the bunch. That would be the final page where we have a whole new Fantastic Four getting ready to go out on a mission. And I just realized if you look at Sue in the back there, she looks like she's covering her eyes like she's crying. But if you look at her face, it's almost like she's smiling. That's creepy. But yeah, man, you're seeing this is the Four for right now. How many times did Ghost Rider have to say vengeance in this comic?
It's contractually obligated, I think, for at least 4 an issue.
Right.
I think that's about all Simonson knew about him. So
vengeance. There shall be a just measure of vengeance.
But I mean, man, I still remember, I was like, I think I was 10 years old when this came out. And when Wolverine says, just call us the new FF, I'm like, holy crap, the new Fantastic Four, this is insane. They've replaced 1 or 2, but this is the whole team. And I wasn't thinking, oh, this is clever that they're, because the Fantastic Four even now are kind of seen as a little bit old fashioned, a little bit more traditional. Mm-hmm. And we were coming into the really edgy era of comics and stuff. So these guys, Spider-Man's probably the most traditional of them when you factor in the Gray Hulk. So these guys, were like really kind of going against the grain of the Fantastic Four, and just to have, I didn't think the FF were really dead, but just, to have Wolverine declare we are the new Fantastic Four.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next issue, the new Fantastic Four do just what Wolverine said. It was just, I was pumped.
Awesome.
I also wanted to point out the first of these 3 issues, according to Marvel Unlimited anyway, came out in February of 91.
Really?
So this would have been the 30th anniversary of the Fantastic Four this year.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I remember around, when I first got into comics, early 90s, I would see that a lot. I remember an issue of Spider-Man that came out where Peter had his 30th birthday because it was the 30th anniversary of Spider-Man, and I guess that was in 92. So
he had his 30th birthday. Is that what they said? He celebrated his 30th birthday in the pages?
Yeah, he had like a surprise that Mary Jane threw him like a surprise party, and I think it's because it was the 30th anniversary of Spider-Man's first appearance.
He has never aged since then.
Pretty sure he got younger at some point.
Yeah, he's younger at this point. No, I just wanted to point out that was 30 years from their first appearance, and now it's been 32 years since these comics.
Since that. Yeah.
So just start digging the graves, fellas.
You do not even have to tell me. Trust me. Every day I sit here and think to myself, man, I'm so old. Well,
yes, more time has passed since this came out than had passed since the first appearance of the Fantastic Four when it was released.
Dude. Well, let's go ahead and we will get into the next issue 348, Where Monsters Dwell, or is it Where Creatures Roam? So,
the world's most commercialist comic magazine.
Really leaning into it.
Yeah, they are. So our creative team, I'm pretty sure, stays the same. Let me look here real quick, just checking. Yeah, main duties, Walter Simonson on writing, penciling by Art, Arthur Adams, inking Art Taber. Looks like penciling assistant listed here, Gracine Tanaka. Al Milgram is doing some inking on pages 13 through 16. Lettering by Bill Oakley and coloring by Steve Buccoletto. I'm guarantee you I'm butchering his name, and I apologize, sir. Okay, here we go. In our second issue, as the new FF take their leave, we realize Delilah was in the form of Sue Richards and that the rest of the Fantastic Four are tied and left in the elevator shaft unconscious. Delilah does release Reed Richards, but using her psychic influence, telepathic influence, and remaining in the form of Sue, she convinces him to help her search for an egg-like sphere that holds a weapon of great power called an inorganic technotroid, or ITT. We got to find it. Find it. Reed successfully finds where he believes it was last seen in the Catskill Mountains. Once they arrive, they find a tunnel and begin to descend, believing it will take them to their prize. The new FF begin to head south to find the source of the monster invasion on their scanners and end up running into one that is attacking a jetliner. While Hulk leaps to attack it and Spider-Man attempts to cover the holes in the plane with webs, they are able to distract the monster from the plane. The winged behemoth forgets about its prey and is soon off towards Monster Isle with the new Fantastic Four close behind. Following it into a cave, the new FF arrives just in time to see Mole Man using his monsters to attack that team of Skrulls we were talking about in the first issue that came to find Delilah. Able to convince cooler heads to prevail, Spider-Man learns from the Mole Man that the Skrulls were behind the monster attacks. When Ghost Rider hits the Skrull captain with the penitent stare, we learn that Delilah is part of a group that plans to assassinate the Skrull Emperor, and they believe she came to Earth to find help. When Spider-Man pulls out the tracker given to them by Sue, the Skrulls instantly recognize it as Skrull technology, and the team learn they have been played. Looking to head back and confront her, the team is about to leave when Delilah, still in the form of Sue, and Reed show up. Hulk looks to start fighting, and Reed jumps to her defense. However, the Hulk is ready to rumble, as he believes Reed is already dead, and the one before him is a Skrull. So there we go. That is issue 2. Let's talk about it. Chris Armstrong, you're up first, man. What are you thinking?
To start with, this cover is kind of iconic now.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
Very cool image of all of them jumping at the reader. And I always like it when an artist I'm a fan of has to draw like really small versions of the characters, like in a big wide shot or whatever. He does it here in the corner box with all the new FF members in the little box above the price. You know, this cover probably by less than a year made it out without like a holographic background or something like that on it.
True.
If it had come out 8 to 10 months later, it probably would have had some kind of special cover.
I am imagining it with chromium holographic foil right now.
I'm kind of amused by what's the Sue imposter's name again?
Delilah,
yeah. But yeah, when she's got the FF all tied up in like an elevator or whatever, like what an elaborate plan, like
right,
to keep them all in check.
You got to know how to tie some rope at that point. Oh, okay, this guy goes over here and he stretches. He's going to choke this person out. And I'm like, she definitely did her due diligence in tying them all up.
The winged Mothra-style giant monster that the Hulk has to attack on the plane. I like it when he basically is smiling at the camera whenever we get a specific shot of him right before he jumps off.
Oh, yeah.
I really like that image with Hulk, kind of like a confused Hulk hanging on his arm. Towards the end, once they get into the Mole Man's lair and stuff, the creature from the original FF #1, I guess, when he steps on the Hulk's foot.
Oh, no kidding.
That's the first thing I think of when I think of the new FF story. That has always stuck out to me, and that the way they do the panel with the circle around his foot, like highlighting what's going on there. That's
hilarious, dude. Yeah. Like, of all the things that's going to happen in this book, the Hulk getting his foot stepped on is probably it's up there. It's top 3 for me for hilarity that happens. Like, and then his reaction, and again, Art Adams knocking it out of the park with facial expressions. Unreal.
The only other thing I really have is, Spider-Man is kind of thrown into the leadership position by default because, Hothead Hulk's not going to do it. Nobody really knows what's going on with Ghost Rider. This era of Wolverine, like, he's not interested in that. He's just kind of, just show me what to stab. That's basically his motto at this point. So Spider-Man kind of has to take the lead on his own and try and negotiate with Mole Man and all that stuff. That's always interesting. And the way Adams, mostly with the coloring, shows the penance stare is a really cool image. But
oh, dude, that skull! I mean, it is frightening. I'm so glad we get the new FF in like a fantastic car almost. I mean, I guess that's a fantastic car, but I'm
they
so
call
glad
it something else. I think it's supposed to be some kind of new experimental thing or something, but it's essentially a fantastic car. Yeah,
right. They're all flying around in that.
Experimental gravity wave rider.
Perfect.
I guess Ghost Rider's bike doesn't show up again at this point. From this point on,
you're right. I don't recall it being a part of the story after this.
Yeah,
must have gotten towed. That's the spinoff I want to see in Peter David's new one is Ghost Rider. Like trying to get his bike out of impound.
He's got it. Okay, so it's probably on top of Four Freedoms Plaza because that's where he drove it to. Unless he's that much of a jerk, he's going to drive it down the stairs into the building. Hopefully not. He's got it parked up there.
Just wanted to point out the experimental gravity wave rider. It's not quite the same angle, but that image of them in it is like kind of what sets the new Fantastic Four, the new Fantastic Four series in motion. A guy who has some kind of power in this new series sees an image from the Daily Bugle of that, which they reveal that Spider-Man had set up a camera across the street. And so that's how this guy ends up calling on this version of the Fantastic Four for help because he saw it on the Daily Bugle. So that specific moment and image comes back in the new series. I was surprised at how close Monster Island is to the Catskills.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be walking for a while. I mean, it must have been an express.
It's supposed to be in the Bermuda Triangle, isn't it?
There you go. Yeah, there's probably some sort. Like, give Chris a no prize. There's probably some sort of time warp or whatever. But yeah, it's like, okay, here we are in the Catskills and Monster Isles in the Bermuda Triangle, and yep, here we are. But I mean, they weren't stretching this bad boy out to fill a trade. They were just like, let's tell this story and get ready for the anniversary issue. What else? Yeah, I was wondering the whole time where Franklin was. Like she's a telepath. She knows Sue had or has the hots for Namor, but she didn't notice the 6-year-old in the penthouse. And they get more specific on this in the 3rd issue. There was a moment in the 1st issue where once Reed realizes it's not Sue, he figures she's got to be a telepath because she knows all this stuff that a stranger shouldn't be able to know. And so you've got this thing where she's apparently legitimately has the hots for Reed Richards, and he's playing into that, and you kind of wonder, is she telepathically influencing him? And we get the answer to that in 349, but that's pretty good. I don't know if it's subtle, but it's a nice bit of character work there that you're not quite sure if Reed's being mind controlled or what. I'll put a pin in that one. Okay. Oh my gosh! I just found an ad for the Silver Surfer Nintendo game.
Oh, get that soundtrack ready!
Issue. Oh my gosh, the greatest video game soundtrack that ever there was. When they're following the big Mothra Swiss cheese looking thing back, and Spider-Man says, "There's something else. We're heading right into the heart of the Bermuda Triangle." And Hulk gives a very dated reference. "We aren't superstitious, are we? A tough little arachnid like you? Maybe you'd better quit subscribing to that Time Life Mysteries of the Unknown series."
Dude, I have 2 of those books sitting upstairs right now. I found them at a yard sale.
I figured. I'm like, did you buy them then, or did you find them at a yard sale or an auction?
I don't know how you can pass those books up at a yard sale for like $1 a piece. There's no way.
That took me back to my childhood as much as anything else in this. And I never got them or read any of them. Those commercials were everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were.
Maybe no one can fully explain these things, but they can no longer be ignored. That's why Time Life takes a serious look into this world with a remarkable new series, Mysteries of the Unknown, to provide an objective and comprehensive look at what may lie beyond our ordinary reality.
Evan talked about they weren't writing this for the trade, and clearly they weren't, but I actually found a trade of New Fantastic Four, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
From the era, that was printed in the early 90s. And that was a rare thing in those days. You didn't see very many trade paperbacks, really.
Did they pad it out with like FF374 or anything like that, or was it just?
Mike's Amazing World of Comics this is one thing I like about this site. It tells us where these issues are actually reprinted. 347 was reprinted in Fantastic Four Monsters Unleashed trade paperback from 1992. X-Men Legends R. Adams trade paperback. Okay.
I'm going to step into the other room and see, because I think I know where that trade is.
Okay.
The Visionaries one would have had a lot more Walt Simonson Fantastic Four, because he was the regular writer at this point, I believe.
Right.
Okay, I was wrong. It's got all 3 of them.
Is it Monsters Unleashed?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's. Let's go ahead and pick a panel.
Go for it. Now, I've already talked about my panel, which is the one where Hulk gets his foot stepped on.
Okay. All right. Evan, you got
reaction.
one?
Yeah.
Reaction's great.
It's on page 7 when Reed's waking up and Delilah is grabbing him by the shirt. Just that look of rage on her face. I mean, if the Hulk's facial expressions, were the star attraction in here, then Skrull Sue's are a close second.
Yeah. Wow. Man, that is. My wife may have looked at me like that one time.
Yeah, you probably didn't do it again.
I didn't. Like I said, she did it once. We kind of already talked about it, but I'm going to take Ghost Rider's face aflame with the penance stare. So gaze into the penance stare of the Ghost Rider and see there your past. Speak. I will take that panel. Man, you ain't kidding.
Vengeance.
Right. You guys ready to talk about Eggs Got Legs?
The world's most collectible comic magazine.
Oh, boy. Well, Eggs Got Legs, our creative team, or Love Conquers All, excuse me. So this is issue 349 of Fantastic Four. It looks like our creative team pretty much stays the same. We even have our fill-ins or our helpers here, our sisters. That is not a word. The assistants, Gracine Tanaka is helping on penciling, and Al Milgram steps in for some inks on pages 4 through 24. Delilah has begun to use her telepathic influence, causing the Mole Man to use his minions now to attack the Skrulls, and she escapes with Reed further into the caves to find the ITT. Remember, that's the thing that they're this big, this egg thing that she's looking for, the sphere that she's looking for, that she believes, I think, is going to be a weapon to help her cause. The new Fantastic Four are able to break Delilah's hold thanks to Ghost Rider's flames and head after her. Yeah, he catches stuff on fire, and that brings some people to their senses, and they take off after Delilah. Meanwhile, the rest of the Fantastic Four back in Four Freedoms Plaza, they awaken the elevator shaft and are rescued by Franklin. They are also then able to determine where Rita's gone and head to Monster Isle. So now they're on their way to confront Delilah and find out what's going on. Inside the caves, Reed and Delilah find the ship holding the ITT, but the new FF stop them in their tracks. As Delilah takes Reed hostage, she commands Hulk to bust into the ship and knock out the sphere with the ITT inside. With the combined efforts of Ghost Rider, Wolverine, and Spider-Man, they are able to cause the sphere to open, revealing the egg of the ITT inside. Just then, the Mole Man arrives with his minions and wants the egg for its power, directing his minions to attack. Then, the Thing, Sue Richards, She-Thing, and the Human Torch arrive to help out Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Hulk, and Wolverine. As Mole Man directs more massive monsters into the battle, Delilah goes for the egg. However, Spider-Man attaches his webs and slings it into the air, where it lands in the arms of one of the giant behemoths. The monsters have been watching over this egg for a while now, and when Mole Man directs the Moloids, is that what they're called, Moloids?
Yeah, he calls them subterraneans in here, but at some point they became known as Moloids. I was wondering about that because he doesn't use that term here, but that's what they're usually called.
Okay. When Mole Man tells the Moloids to attack the monsters fight back. So picture this chaotic battle scene that's going on right now. You know, you got this egg that everybody's trying to get, especially the Mole Man. The monsters are trying to protect it. The monsters who are usually controlled by Mole Man are now considered his enemies, so he sicks the Moloids after the monsters. Not a good idea. And the Skrulls who've been sitting back watching this are just like, okay, we're in trouble now, so we're going to use a bomb to blow the cave up. But before that can happen, the egg hatches and out pops the ITT, believing the large monster that was watching over it to be its mother. The ITT goes after the Skrull captain, grabbing him because the Skrull captain is this threat that has this bomb, and the ITT grabs and goes deep into the ground, burrows with him into the ground, taking the captain and the bomb with it, where it explodes, leaving the ITT the only thing to crawl out of the tunnel it created. As Delilah tries to convince Reed to leave with her, Reed removes the disruptor she had been using as a weapon and punches her flat out in the face. When she looks to use her mental powers to make Reed kill his wife, Sue, Ghost Rider hits her with that penance stare, baby, leaving her a rambling mess, destined to live out her years reliving the pain she has caused others. The teams head to the surface to leave just as Frank Castle is about to bomb one of the monsters returning there, but he decides better when he sees the FF emerging from the caves. Yes, what does it say here? It says, featuring the world's most exploitative cameo, and they are not kidding. Boy, am I glad they lived up to that. That was perfect.
That he's the only guy who could match the new FF individual members for overexposure back then.
It's funny because if you remember right, when you first proposed this, I was like, yeah, it's made up of Punisher, Ghost Rider, and the Incredible Hulk and Wolverine, right? And you're like, Punisher's not in that. And I had to double check. I was like, there's no way. It's all because of this right here. All because I saw that skull in the bottom corner of this issue. I assumed that he was part of the new FF, but obviously it's not. And boy, is it ever an exploitative cameo. He shows up for what I think maybe a panel. Is it a panel or two? I'm looking here.
4 panels total. I counted.
Oh wow!
Was it 4 panels? Boy, that's more than I mean.
I didn't read a lot of Punisher back then. Was the Punisher chopper a thing?
No, I can tell you that I've never seen the Punisher chopper until now. There's no way there's a helicopter flying around with the Punisher skull on the side of it.
Well, there is nowadays. It's
well,
probably like a police department or something.
Right.
I remember when I initially read this, I wasn't sure that was the Punisher. I thought it was like some military guy that just had a skull on his on his chopper or something.
Well, you wouldn't know.
Punisher doesn't have a helicopter.
Right. They don't. I mean, other than you're looking at the front cover, but I mean, it's not like he refers to himself. Like, what are you doing, Frank? Oh, just turn around and go home. He didn't do any of that. But
I should correct myself. Frank is visible in 3 panels. The chopper is visible in 5 panels.
Okay. All right. Evan, I'm going to let you go first here, buddy. We're finishing up. This is 349. Eggs got legs. What are your thoughts?
This is definitely the best issue of a fun story. I mean, they said on the cover the first one had everything, including the kitchen sink. Although I flipped through it multiple times and could not find a kitchen sink. But
not confirmed.
Yeah, but this issue has even more. I mean, and we've been raving about the art, but the dialogue starts to catch up with it in this one. I mean, when Delilah is manipulating the mole man, he says, "Child, you have touched my heart. I too have known the stigma of ostracism." The Hulk gets even more snarky and sarcastic. When all the monsters start coming to him, he goes, "Oh, great, another monster. Maybe I'll die of boredom before they can kill me." Can you imagine like the Hulk on Facebook or Twitter? This version of the Hulk.
Oh no!
Or when and then you've got a little mini callback to Secret Wars with the Hulk holding up the cave on him when a bomb goes off, and Ghost Rider starts carving his way out of there, and the Hulk goes, "Don't bother me. I think I'm about to get struck speechless," which is like the closest he gets to complimenting anybody. And then, you've got where we find out that Reed has been playing along. Like I said, back in 347, he realized she was a telepath. So he's been like playing along going, "Oh, man, she looks just like Sue, but somehow even more beautiful." It's really kind of a nice moment to remind you that Reed Richards is always the smartest guy in the room, and it's before he was completely incapable of interacting with other people like you see him a lot these days. He's like, "Oh yeah, she's sure gorgeous. Why, I think I'm in love with you." And I mean, she's fancies herself this master manipulator, and Reed's playing her the whole time. Great moment with the Hulk and the Thing fighting back to back. Usually they're pounding on each other. And Jesse, I don't know if you, because I know you weren't reading Fantastic Four at this time. That's actually a suit of armor that the original Thing is wearing. There was some point where when he lost his powers, but he still wanted to fight, that Reed made him a suit of armor that looks and functions just like when he has his powers.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was going to ask
no
about
idea.
that too.
And that's you mentioned a character called Ms. Thing. That was in when Matt Fraction was writing Fantastic Four, and the Torch was dating a pop star. I think her name was like Darla Deering or something. The Fantastic Four was going on a time travel field trip with their kids. And they were supposed to be gone for 1 minute of real time. And so they each picked somebody to stand in as a member of the Fantastic Four just in case something went wrong. And wouldn't you know, something went wrong. So the Thing picked She-Hulk, who had replaced him before. Invisible Woman picked Medusa, who had replaced her before. Mr. Fantastic picked Scott Lang, Ant-Man, who had replaced him before. And the Torch forgot, and so told his girlfriend she should be his fill-in. And the FF disappeared, and so she's like, "Okay, no, I was picked. I'm part of the Fantastic Four." So they dug out the old Thing armor and put her in it just without the helmet.
Nice.
And so she went around calling herself Ms. Thing.
I see. No, I had no idea about the armor thing at all. I thought when we hit this, I was like, "Oh, okay, Ben can change now." I didn't.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
That was one of the few things that's not explained or given any context in this. And the reason I knew it, and because if there's one thing I'm going to, shoehorn in a reference to besides Squirrel Girl, it's the old TSR Marvel Superheroes role-playing game. And I had a module for that called Murder World, where the Fantastic Four took on Arcade and then a bunch of their, greatest hits from their Rogues Gallery. And it had She-Hulk was a member at the time, but they included stats for the Thing, and it said there was a time when he lost his powers and Reed made him this armor. So it was actually the role-playing game that let me figure out what was going on there. Another thing I liked is that even though, it was kind of a gag why they picked these 4 characters for it, I thought it was cool that they were the 4 that she needed their specific abilities let her get to the ITT. The Hulk broke it out, and Spider-Man and Wolverine working together disabled the security system, and then you had to have a mystic weapon. So that was kind of cool, the way they explained why she chose those 4. it all came together kind of quickly, but we were talking about Spider-Man, sort of being the leader and the voice of reason. And he, the Mole Man's like, okay, I'm going to destroy you guys. And Spider-Man's like, okay, well, what do you got? A few million Subterraneans? We've got the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider. Have you ever seen the Hulk when he's really mad? Do you think you're going to have much of a kingdom left? And the Mole Man's like, hey, you know what? Let's just go our separate ways.
On second thought, I may have misjudged this.
So yeah, just a blast of an issue. Just it has all kinds of stuff and just loads of fun. And still some good moments, true to the characters. Except I know, Chris, you said something about Vengeance may be the only thing Simonson knows about Ghost Rider. I wonder about that panel where he's like, "What's this? A new power?" I'm almost wondering if that wasn't drawn and somebody said, "Hey, Ghost Rider can't do that," so they had to write in some dialogue explaining that. Oh yeah, he can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which one are you talking about there? Where
Mole Man tells
chain? Or?
No, where Mole Man tells his Moloids to kill the Skrulls, and Ghost Rider, as he's towering above them, reaches out and the flames come up to protect the Skrulls.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But again, that's how comics were done back then. Whereas now it would be like, check out the 4-issue limited series explaining why Ghost Rider can shoot fire now.
Nobody has notes on the inorganic Technotroid, do they? Because I'm about to lay some stuff out there.
Go on.
Right, here it is. First appearance of the inorganic. First appearance of the ITT was Fantastic Four, number 349. Does it stick around? Well, there's 4 appearances of the ITT. Let's take a look. The ITT shows up in Fantastic Four, Volume 1, 349. Silver Surfer, Volume 3, number 95. And then the
going on my back issue search list.
Yeah. Spider-Man Fantastic Four, Volume 1, number 3. And then, wow, Cosmic Ghost Rider getting in on this. Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History, Volume 1, number 1. What is
that's
that?
That's in my Marvel Unlimited library. I had no idea it tied into this series.
Oh, is that? And I know you and Mark talked about Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Yeah, that's the sequel. I forget what the one was called that Mark and I did, where Cosmic Ghost Rider went back in time to kill Thanos as a baby. But Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History is the sequel.
Okay.
So no ITT or New Fantastic Four, just Howard the Duck as the Juggernaut in that one.
Oh, okay, all right.
And gotcha. Thanos in a Punisher t-shirt.
Oh, unbelievable. So there you go. There's some ITT knowledge for y'all. So, okay. Anything else there?
Is anybody else thinking, whenever you say ITT, is anybody thinking ITT Technical Institute, or is that just a regional thing?
Maybe. That's what I was thinking the whole time. All right. Anything else there, Evan, before I throw it over to... You guys are sending me messages, and I'm going to have to stop and look at them now. Oh, there's that. Okay, there's the Punisher t-shirt. There's the Silver Surfer, incredibly hard video game advertisement, right?
Oh, yes. It is intense for the 30 seconds you can play it before you have to start over.
And what was... Chris, I saw you had sent something, too, I thought. Oh, yeah, there it is. The Monsters Unleashed. Look at that. And they use those guys for the cover.
Yeah.
So, when was there anything else padded out in that book, or was it just those 3 issues?
It's just the 3 issues, and then there's some pinups and conceptual art in the back.
That thing, that's pretty cool. That's actually really cool. It's interesting that got released in '92, so that would have been 2 years, about a year or so, probably after this.
Yeah.
So even at that point, it was hot.
Yeah, but in '92 there wouldn't have been anything to pad it out.
You're right.
So we can wrap it up. I did actually do what I said, and I do know a little bit about. Can tell you a little bit about where they went from here. But there was not another new Fantastic Four story at that point.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead. Let me throw it over to you, Chris. What do you think of this issue, man?
Most of the stuff has already kind of been covered. Because I didn't have a whole lot of notes on this, but Evan is right that this is it's kind of a packed issue, and it's not a very serious storyline. It's just a really fun comic from the early 90s with unbelievable art. Ghost Rider is kind of like the MVP. He uses his new power to break the spell of the telepathy and save the Skrulls, and then he uses his chain to create the escape from under the rubble, and he also plays a part in use of his mystical chain to get the egg free. It's cool that they like Evan said, that all of the new FF members have a role to play in getting that out. But yeah, really cool conclusion to the issue. We get a little shirtless Hulk at the end, going old school. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Really cool story. And it's not a surprise that they wanted to, this was a big hit and they wanted to bring them back as a team occasionally.
Yeah. To see everything happens all at once, it seems like once everybody gets in together in the cave. So we got the new FF, we've got the old FF, we've got Mole Man, we've got the Skrull team, we've got Delilah, we've got Reed, we got the ITT, and the big monsters, the Moloids. There is so much happening in this final issue. It's pretty crazy. There are some really fun moments, especially to try and watch. It's neat to see this team, the new Fantastic Four, but what an oddball grouping of superheroes. It's cool to see them together, but you're thinking, these guys just don't seem like it'd be a team that would work.
Two of them are mortal enemies, practically.
Right. Hulk and Wolverine are not ever usually on the best of terms. It's fun. It's definitely, if you think too hard about this thing, how in the world do you go from the Catskills to the Bermuda Triangle? How in the world
I'm sorry.
How in the world did the rest of the FF get there so quickly? You don't think too hard about it. Just sit back and have a good time. I mean, I had a good time. The main thing I was trying to figure out was like, oh man, what is this ITT going to be? What is this thing going to do? Trying to figure out who Delilah was, or I should say, what her motives were. I thought Delilah for a while, I thought she was going to be a good guy. They don't really set her up like that in the beginning, but I thought her motives were going to be like, I need help, and this is the only way I can get help. But by the end of the story, she's not a good guy. I mean, she is not. She's using her powers to manipulate everybody. When Ghost Rider hits her with the penance there, that's it. She's done.
Do you know how evil you had to be pre-Captain Marvel movie to make the Skrulls seem sympathetic or not so bad?
Right.
Comics?
True, because they were always looked at as a villain.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's not the case here. But yeah, man, I had a good time here. This is the first time I've read these 3 issues. I've known about them forever and a day. I've known about the team. I think my first exposure, I wanted to read the What If that we were talking about earlier with, help me out. Who did the What If?
Ringo?
Yes.
And that's at least the second What If about the new Fantastic Four.
Oh, really?
There was one closer to this that I don't think I've read. I think I was off of What If at that point. I got tired of seeing beloved Marvel characters brutally killed.
Everybody's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So but yeah, there was a 90s What If, and then they did that one shot that they were working on when Michael Ringo passed away, and they finished that up and kind of, I think it was a Hero Initiative or Comic Book Legal Defense Fund fundraiser.
Okay.
That was the one that actually he had started drawing it with Johnny Blaze, and after he passed away, they didn't want to go back and change what he'd done, so it was just an alternate reality where Johnny Blaze instead of Danny Ketch. Although, I mean, let's face it, in here, Flaming Skull and Leather Jacket was all you needed. It didn't really matter.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Which version it was.
Didn't matter which version you got. The Ghost Rider was just straight up Ghost Rider this whole time. Tell me, Chris Armstrong, you got a panel on this last issue?
Yes. Let me...
I already know what mine is. I'm taking it. I'm going to tell you what mine is right now. And
okay.
That way you get... I'm taking Ghost Rider swinging his chain and rescuing the team by melting rock. And when you look at that, that's got to be something tough you got to try and draw. I mean, okay, I'll just draw a bunch of circles, but you got a chain. And if you look at it, it's not really... I'm going to take the one, the final panel where he's swinging it, and my assumption is that's sparks that's coming off of the rock.
Yeah.
All those tiny little squares. Like it's kind of like a melding of fire and sparks as he burrows the new FF out of this cave in. So that's mine. You find yours yet?
Yeah, mine is page 20, the 4th panel, which is the ITT tackling the captain and burrowing into the earth.
We don't see the captain after this again. He doesn't crawl up out of there. Okay. I was gonna say if I missed the panel where he crawls up and he's just got a bunch of like black marks on his face, it's like whatever, man. I'm pretty sure he met his demise when that bomb exploded. Okay, and Evan Bevins, what do you think, man? You got a panel you want to take?
My version has ads, so it says page 29, and I don't know what the rules are, but I'm going to take two panels that have to work together. It's when Sue's ready to kill Reed with her synaptic disruptor, or not Sue, Delilah, and she realizes that he took it off of her when they were making out. Just her right. Smug, like, okay, this is like, I mean, I don't know how she thinks she's gonna get away with anything after she blasts Reed, because there's, two Fantastic Fours there waiting for her, but then just look on her face like, wait, what? Where is this thing I've been using for the last 3 issues? Yep. Just another great facial expressions.
You think
honorable mention to the Hulk and the Thing back to back, getting ready to throw down. Well, and that's another great set of panels, actually, because you've got Spider-Man and the Torch giving each other a hard time, too, because nobody in the Fantastic Four really has history yet with Wolverine or Ghost Rider, but you've got the two members of the new Fantastic Four, kind of trading wisecracks with the original members they're most familiar with.
All right, Evan, you said you had some notes here of where things go after this. Why don't you lay them on us?
Okay. The other than the trade that Chris introduced us to, I think the next time you see the new Fantastic Four, they were listed in the rookies section of the Marvel Series 2 trading cards alongside Darkhawk and Sleepwalker. One of the pinups you sent us in the chat, Chris, is the image they used.
With Wolverine getting the Cannonball special?
Yeah.
That's it. Yes, that is the card. Yeah, I remember that.
The next time they appeared in a comic, and I would be remiss if I didn't point out that you can read more about that at *51.blogspot.com, was in Fantastic Four 374, which came out about not too long after Secret Defenders #1, and it was billed as the Fantastic Four versus the Secret Defenders, but it was the Torch had accidentally burned down Empire State University, like you do, and he was on the run, and Spider-Man asked Doctor Strange to get the new Fantastic Four back together to help track him down, and shockingly, having Hulk, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider in the mix did not calm things down. That's where the rest of the FF came in to bail Johnny out, and Wolverine flipped out and slashed the Thing across the face. Ooh, and scarred him, and he had this metal helmet that he wore for a while.
Yes. This so this covered the issue 374.
Mm-hmm.
Sue's outfit at that point. Oh my goodness. This is the iconic 4 boob window. Not looked upon as very. Let's just say.
I think that's the known as MILF Sue.
She was like, hey, if Power Girl can do it, so can I.
Yeah, and have a decent little design there too.
Yeah, I mean, at least hers is thematic. I mean, we understand why she's got a 4.
Right.
In Adjectiveless Spider-Man #22, they sort of got the band back together, except Wolverine was busy, so it was Spider-Man, Hulk, Ghost Rider, and Chris, Sleepwalker.
Okay.
Oh, he's setting you up for that. That's so rude.
I know it should have been Dark. I just figured Chris knew. Revenge of the Sinister Six. Yeah, and you got Ghost Rider, Hulk, Spider-Man, and Sleepwalker on the cover. Like I said, there was a What If. I don't know when all of these came out. And then there was an X-Men storyline called Ages of Apocalypse. Because, there's nothing Marvel likes more than reusing titles, where Apocalypse was doing something and altering the timeline. The Fantastic Four in one of these timelines had gotten killed, and the new Fantastic Four got back together and became the Fantastic Four going forward. There was an issue of Wolverine that Eric Larson, again, drew. So Eric Larson must have been a fan of this iteration of the team, because he used them twice.
Okay.
And then there was the What If, the tribute to Mike Wieringo. There's been different references to it. There's a Spider-Man Fantastic Four that you mentioned, Jesse, that had the ITT in it that I see a reference to here. I don't know that. But then even before the Peter David limited series that I was talking about that's coming out right now, there was a callback to him in the Empire crossover. Don't know if either of you guys read that.
I'm trying to think what that. What
it was where the Skrulls and the Kree finally buried the hatchet and teamed up. and everybody thought they were going to attack the Earth, but there was kind of a bait and switch where the Kotati, the plants that Mantis married into, they attacked the Earth.
Oh.
But the Fantastic Four are up in space dealing with that. Franklin and Valeria, however you say her name, are left back at the headquarters. Franklin and Valeria call in some help, and Wolverine and Spider-Man show up in like Fantastic Four branded suits. And then Ghost Rider and Hulk show up, but that's actually, I think, Franklin and Valeria like using an image inducer or something. But so the kids and Spider-Man and Wolverine are the new Fantastic Four on Earth while they're out in space. So
okay.
They like to reference that a lot. And then Jesse, one of the first shows you had me on, we talked about the latest Fantastic Four Volume 1. And at the end of that series, Reed and Sue and a lot of the kids from the Future Foundation were facing off against this huge cosmic threat. And Reed said, okay, well, all I need to take you on is the Fantastic Four. And she's like, oh, yeah, sure, bring in the Fantastic Four. But he brought in everybody who'd ever been a member of the Fantastic Four. So you had the Hulk, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Crystal, Medusa, Iceman, which he hadn't actually been a member, but they did like a flashback story to show how he was like a member of the Fantastic Four for a day. So it's something, like I said, if I'm remembering right, it was supposed to be a one-off gag, just for this series. And, Chris is right. For Marvel to turn around and churn out a trade like 2 years later, I mean, most of the trades you got were like Dark Phoenix Saga, the 7th printing and stuff like that. It's not like now where as soon as you can slap 4 or 5 issues together, it's a trade. I doubt anybody involved imagined it would have this kind of staying power.
One of the last pictures you sent over here, Chris, of the back matter of that trade, that top rendition of Art Adams trying to come up with what the ITT is going to look like, that looks like Fugitoid from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe. Looks, I mean, aside from the feet, which I can't tell if he's got 3 legs or if he's got 1 leg or 2 legs or whatever, but the face and the arms,
definitely.
Yeah, Evan, that was some great research, man, and it's awesome to know exactly where this team showed up afterwards. Some fantastic stuff right there. Fantastic, that's the word for tonight. Anything left unsaid before we get into plugs?
Fantastic Four is not one of my favorite teams of superheroes and stuff. I mean, for a while in like the 2000s, it was consistently one of the best comics on the stands, like from really good to great, basically from the time Mark Waid and Mike Ringo started, because it pretty much went from them for like 3 years. Then J. Michael Straczynski had a good run. And then Mark Miller and Brian Hitch had a good run after that. And then it was kind of hit or miss for a while. And then Jonathan Hickman had a really good run after that. So there are also some really great FF runs that I've never read, like from the 80s. Walt Simonson, his run was in the late 80s, early 90s. I've only read a handful of those issues, and John Byrne had a really acclaimed run in like the early to mid 80s that I want to read. Consistently good book for like 30 years, basically. So this is a cool look back at a really fun story from the early 90s.
100% agree.
Speaking of great runs of the Fantastic Four, I'm really optimistic because Dan Slott's leaving, and I've enjoyed that. But Mr. Ryan North will be taking over in November.
Yeah,
of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl fame. So I'm really pumped about that.
Who's the artist supposed to be? Have they said?
Oh, they did, and I just shoot. Of course, nowadays you can't get an artist to do more than a couple issues in a row. I can't pronounce the guy's name. It's Ibn Coelho or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then they've got, at least for the first few issues, Alex Ross is doing covers.
That's cool.
So he's pretty good.
Yeah, you might have heard his name before. Wow. All right. Well, let's go ahead. We'll get into plugs here. We'll start things off here. This was your baby there, Evan Bevins. So why don't you go ahead and start us out on plugs? What's been going on with you, man?
Well, like I tried to shoehorn in earlier, *51.blogspot.com is my blog where I talk about comics, movies about comics about movies, that sort of thing. I did in my read through of Secret Defenders. I did jump over to FF number 374. As we're recording this, the first episode of She-Hulk just hit Disney Plus, so I looked back at Peter David's She-Hulk the movie, where She-Hulk wound up in Hollywood investigating a pretty crappy adaptation of her life story that has no parallels at all to the recent Batgirl fiasco. So, you can check out my blog to see, what all those situations don't have in common. Going through, like I said, going through Secret Defenders with a bunch of, speaking of random assortments of Marvel characters, there's a lot of those, and just whatever else I stumble upon and can manage to put into a coherent series of sentences.
Chris Armstrong, buddy, I know you talk some movies. You talk comics with me every once in a while. What do you got going on?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BrodyMan34. And I've also got another podcast called Small Screeners, where me and my buddy AJ discuss direct-to-video and made-for-TV movies. We actually just dropped a bonus episode last night on Prey and Day Shift. So a couple of streaming, a couple of big streaming movies that have come out the last few weeks. We were recording something else and decided we will just do a bonus episode on those, put that out, and then we've got an episode coming up at the beginning of next month on Batman Under the Red Hood, the DC animated flick from I think 2010. And you can follow the Small Screeners wherever you find podcasts. And there are Instagram and Twitter accounts for that podcast at Small Screeners.
I don't really have a whole lot else to talk about here. Just kind of keep an eye out for any other additional episodes that'll be dropping here on the Source Material feed. We appreciate every single one of you that listen. Love to hear some feedback if you got any. That's Evan Bevins. That is Chris Armstrong. I'm Jesse Starcher. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure to give that Rattlich in Broadcasting Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts we have to offer. We are at home on Spreaker, but you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and recently we have hit the air on Spotify. Find your favorite podcast platform and type in RADULICH to subscribe for some great content. If you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word. And as always, we appreciate any feedback and look forward to entertaining you again soon.